All right, so Tiki's in Houston for the Texans and the Colts game on CBS. Tiki, I want you to do me a favor, all right? Mm-hmm. And I'm going to lay out for a little bit. This should be fairly easy to identify. You're a smart guy. I want you to listen to what this sounds like. Let it go for a little bit for those who are a little slow or maybe a little distracted, maybe the nicer way of saying it. What does that sound like?
Clock?
Yes. That is a clock. And you know what that clock represents?
What?
The Jets being on it. All right, now listen. Hey. I mean, you
are
they
drafting? What's going on here?
Here's what I don't want to hear anymore, all right? I don't want to hear anymore about how great Sauce is or how great Garrett Wilson is or how great Elijah Moore is or how great Breece Hall is going to be. I need to see it. We need to see it. I don't want to see, and I already saw it 15 minutes ago, Woody Johnson's ridiculous. We're wearing white-on-white uniforms today, Sunday. Woody, just start putting some wins out there. Stop tweeting about how great these guys are. The New York Jets are officially on the clock, and I'll tell you why. Because first of all, there's many reasons why, but you go back, right? This is sickening. And I remember Colton was on my lap. He was still a baby. Sam Darnold, the golden boy, the first game. Monday Night Football. You remember this game against the Lions? Remember the stake?
Yes, I do.
All right.
Well,
because we spoke about it nationally.
That's right.
Darnold back to pass. He threads picked. His first throw was a pick six. Now, give the Jets credit. The Jets come back. The Jets actually win that game. But since that opening week in 2018 against the equally hapless Detroit Lions, here's what the Jets have done. In September, loss. In 2019, loss. In 2020, loss. And in 2021, loss. Listen, I believe in Robert Saleh. I believe in Joe Douglas. But if the expiration point is here, just like the Giants, the new regime, they get a year's grace period, see what they're at. They've got to kind of get rid of the trash and start rebuilding from scratch. All right, that's fine. No more do I want to hear about this guy's going to be a superstar. I don't want to wait 9 weeks before Garrett Wilson has a bust-out day. I don't want to wait 13 weeks before Breece Hall catches a 78-yard wheel route touchdown. I don't want to wait 7 weeks before Sauce Gardner is popping and his PFF grade is tremendous. I want to see it starting Sunday.
You've been talking baseball too long, BT. You've been talking baseball too long because you got football affecting your emotions and making you overly aggressive and expecting things that just might not happen right away, BT. Look, I hear what you're saying. It's been so many. We talked about this yesterday, and we mentioned it off air. 11 years since the Jets have been in the postseason. It's been a long time. It's the longest drought in NFL history. I think the next closest is 6 years the team has been since they've been in the postseason.
Whoa, it's not about, you mean the Jets? Because the Lions have the longest drought in NFL history?
Yeah, but this year, I'm talking about playoffs, getting to the playoffs.
No. 11 years, there's been teams that
I swear I read that yesterday.
That seems odd. But anyway.
So it is what it is. But my point is, the Jets have not had consistent success in their history and certainly not in their recent history. So just because they had a good offseason and their defense is supposed to be better, they have an offensive skill position room that's filled with lots of talent, doesn't mean that it's just going to happen right away. So you're putting them on notice, and you're making you're making this aggressive stance towards success for the Jets that it might take some time to get to, BT. A year, yes. Last year, I almost counted as a wash because of how bad Zach Wilson was and the fact that he was injured and they rotated through quarterbacks and everything else. They didn't have any talent. And so I look at this year as more of the start year, not the you better be on notice this year type of season.
Okay, listen, that's fine. Now, by the way, if you notice, if you want to call it a rant, a little diatribe, a little overly emotional, whatever, however you want
to frame it. That's the fan in you, man. That's the fan.
Well, yeah. Yeah. Listen, no, I don't dispute that. I do believe, I hope that when it's time to be objective, that objectivity will certainly come from my microphone. I believe that it has, and I believe that it will continue to do that. But in that, however you want to call it, I never once said that they have to win. What I said was, I need to know that the New York Jets, instead of theories and possibilities and hope, I need to see a tangible payoff soon that the guys that they drafted, hey, listen, every other team, even the dog franchises, right? Every other team drafts a guy, he gets 9 sacks. Every other team finds a guy, 1,100 yards receiving, 8 or 9 touchdowns, and one of the best young receivers in football. I want to know, outside of blind faith, like what? So if you think that my emotions are misleading me, I would like you to educate me and all the other Jet fans who I'm sure agree with me. I would like you to tell me how I should view Week 1 and how I should view this season. Tell me.
You're also playing the Baltimore Ravens, who are not a bad team. I'm not going to say they're great. I'm not saying they're going to the postseason and they're going to win a Super Bowl with Lamar Jackson, who's having these contract conversations, he and his mom, with the Ravens, trying to get it done before the season started. The Ravens are a good squad. So you can't even I know you expect them to play well against the Ravens, and I do as well, but the Ravens are good, and they've been good consistently. They have one of the most dynamic quarterbacks in the National Football League. So the expectation for me for Week 1 for the New York Jets is just look competent. Right? Don't look like a team that looks lost. Last year, so many games, they felt like they were lost, getting blown out of the water or just not executing. And so with a new regime, second-year regime, and mostly new players on both sides of the football, the continuity is just not going to be there. Right? We saw this last night, right? With the Rams and the Bills last night, right? Why did Matt Stafford look so bad? Because he didn't practice this offseason.
By the way,
in training camp.
You're welcome.
Yeah, you're very welcome, and the win, by the way, because you picked the Bills. I had the Rams, but I think you can't get too ahead of yourself with this Jets team. Yes, on paper, they look interesting and they look better and they look exciting, but there's still so many moving parts to making a team successful, and the Jets just don't have a history of doing that consistently at all.
All right, 877-337-6666. Tiki and Tierney on the Fan. Week 1, let's go. Hey, listen, there's a good chance before you know it that this energy completely dissipates because the Jet, or the Jets, I should say. I don't think that that's necessarily going to be the case. I know the Ravens are obviously very good.
Yep.
But their passing game is lackluster. If you can find a way, easier said than done, to blanket Mark Andrews and not let him get nuts, and again, not easier said than done, keep Lamar Jackson from slicing you up for $170 on the ground. I mean, this should, in theory, be a 4-quarter game. But I got to tell you, I mean, what you just said, I'm offended. All right, because you just said you just don't want to look lost.
Yes.
Whoa, hold on
you
a second. I agree, but that can't be the barometer, dude. All I heard this, and forget about me, and forget about Evan, and forget about Craig, and forget about Boomer, and like the former Jet, and Jet fans at the station, and I'm sure I'm missing a few. Forget about us, all right? What about all the national pundits who all summer long lauded the Jets? Oh, the Jets crushed free agency. Oh, the Jets absolutely destroyed the draft. Well, if that's true, again, I'm not saying you got to win, but don't look lost. No. I'm raising the bar because I need to know that when it's, time ticking down in distance, do you call the timeout? When you come out for the second half adjustments, do you get the plays in properly, whether it's Flacco or Wilson? Do you look smooth? Do you play with energy? Do you not give up gash plays? I need to know, number one, that the Jets are well coached. And number two, and I really, really believe in Joe Douglas, but how many years are we going to sit here and say, man, this guy killed it in the draft? You got to start seeing some of these guys got to be stars. I mean, so you can tell me all you want. Don't look lost. No, I'm not hearing it.
You're saying the
How
same.
about look good?
You're saying the same thing I'm saying, just a little bit more aggressively. And by the way, here's the stat that I was talking about. The Jets finished, obviously, 4-13 last year. It was their 6th straight losing season, and 11th consecutive season missing out on the postseason, which is the longest active drought.
No, active. No, that's different than what you. Okay, gotcha.
Behind the Broncos. I think
you said all time. That's where I'm like, no.
Well, it's all time in their franchise. All time in their franchise. In their franchise history, it's tied for the longest. 11th, they were 1970 to 1980.
That's saying something.
I know.
I mean, anytime you reference a bad Jet stat in their franchise history, it's bad.
That's right. That's right. So, I mean, it's going to extend because I don't know. I don't think this team is making the playoffs.
I don't
this year.
either.
But that's not the point. The point for me with the New York Jets is all those things you said. Timeout management, getting the play calls in, not burning or getting delay of game penalties.
Yes.
Or situational football.
Yes.
Situational football tells you that you're well coached if you do those things well. And I'm not saying you're going to execute and be dominant over whoever you're playing that weekend, but if they're doing those things right, then that's meaning they're not lost. Last year, they were lost in a lot of those things, and it was excusable, right? I'm not blaming anybody. Right? You had a first-year head coach. You had an offensive coordinator who's 35 years old. Maybe he was 34 even last year, and Mike LaFleur. Like, there was a lot of – the talent wasn't really there. Guys playing out of position. You had injury issues from the very first jump with Mekhi Becton, as we all remember, in week 1. It was a snowball effect happening for the Jets last year. So you can excuse it, right? I just need to not see that happen again. That's what I'm looking for in week 1 from the New York Jets. Not, I need to turn the corner and this team needs to be competent.
Okay. We see it differently. We're inside of our Town Fair Tire studio. Our friends at Town Fair remind you that at Town Fair, you always get the guaranteed lowest price on name brand tires from Connecticut to Maine. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody. Listen, I get it. There have been many recent years where I don't care how optimistically you skew. I mean, common sense is, man, we're running out of that tunnel with nothing. Mm-hmm. We are bereft of talent. Not just for the Jets, but the Giants as well in certain spots. Like, from the Jets' point of view, though, for this conversation, over the last couple of years, man, there's not a damn receiver on the, in the room that is impressive. There's not a tight end that anybody else would want. Like, so I get it. That week 1, the Rams looked sloppy. That big gash play to Davis, the touchdown with Josh Allen, who's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Those things are going to happen. I'm not saying that the Jets should not are going to be immune from some early season missteps, and as you infuse the new talent, I get that. But for me, and I stand by it, the clock ticks. The Jets need to look like a talented team. Otherwise, we've wasted everybody's time this whole summer because all we've done is kiss their behind. Oh, they drafted so well. Look what they did. They brought in this guy. They brought in that guy. This guy won the Super Bowl for the Bucs. This guy was the leader, the tight end for the Bengals. This guy, Conklin's going to be phenomenal. This guy might be the best receiver in the history of Ohio State. I mean, this guy might be the best running back in the history of the Big 12. I mean, so what are we doing? I'm serious. Like, what are we wasting our time? And Jets fans, what are we doing?
Look, it's good.
Don't look bad? No.
This is what sports conversation is about. Part of it starts on paper, right? It starts with the underwear on, as I always talk about, because they don't do training camps like they used to anymore. It starts that way. You got to at least have the idea that you're going to have a talented squad. And I think that the Jets have talent on their squad. Now the question is, how does it translate on Sunday afternoons on the gridiron? And if that happens, and you see it, and you'll see it, like you'll know almost immediately whether the on paper thing is translating to the on field.
I hear you.
Right? It's quite obvious when teams look good on field, even if they lose games. It's obvious when the talent that they talk about actually is going to be good on Sunday afternoon.
All right, listen, let's not get it twisted. This is not a playoff team. I never once even remotely intimated that. I expect competitive football, and I expect when this season is over, we know collectively the Jets have some juice moving forward. That's what I'm saying. 877-337-6666. All right, Jordan first up, Bricktown on the Fan. What's up, Jordan?
Hey, guys, how are you?
What's happening?
Good, man.
So real quick, before I go on to my point, the Jets, I think, are going to be a competitive team. I personally like them the first 2 weeks to win. But, we don't know what the rest is going to be. But to my point, this whole thing that went on with Zach Wilson going from being ready to 4 weeks out to Beckham to Brown to all these guys, this has been going on for years. And it's been going on for as long as Woody's been the owner. And, when Woody got this job for Trump and he was going away to England, I was like, you know what? Maybe they'll put somebody in there, an owner that can make some sense. But no, it was his brother. And it's just everything stems from the top. The way this franchise ran, it's a lot like the Mets were with the Wilpons. It's the same thing. The same thing over and over. Woody's got to go because this nonsense that goes on.
Yeah, but he's not going anywhere.
Exhausting.
But come on, he's not going anywhere.
you're right. He's not going anywhere. But there's got to be a point where the NFL looks at the Jets, even the Giants too, even though Mara's never going to sell or anything like that. But you look at the Jets and you just go, wow, this is a New York team that hasn't made the playoffs in 11 years. What's wrong here? Where they bring in Joe Douglas? They bring in Robert Saleh. They bring in guys. They're trying to they draft high. They go with the right players. Everyone's looking at them going, oh, they did such a great time in the draft, free agency. How is it not working? How does this never work? Does the NFL look at the big market of the Jets and say, wow, this thing is how are they not doing this the right way?
I don't think they look at it's interesting what you're intimating, but the NFL will never do that, even though it is better when a New York team, Jets or Giants, are very good, obviously, because from media situations. But I think it always starts, to answer your questions directly, it always starts with the top, right? If ownership is right and engaged. The Giants' ownership has always been engaged. They haven't been right all the time, but they've been engaged. The Jets' ownership hasn't always had that, right? I mean, Woody was over in Ireland for a while as the ambassador, and his brother was running the team. And as a result, decisions that get made from coach, GM, etc., downhill, if they're not tightened up and right, then everything kind of falls apart below it. So that I think that's been the big issue for the Jets. It's the easiest thing to point to. And BT and I have talked about this many times. They hire these coaches, and we're like, what? That doesn't make any sense. Mm-hmm. Robert Saleh feels like the right coach.
He does,
right? And Joe Douglas feels like the right general manager.
He does.
Now it's just got to translate onto Sundays, and all these missteps, they get forgotten. Right, because success is the ultimate cure for what ails franchises that just hate themselves in a sense.
All right, 877-337-6666. Tiki and Tierney here on The Fan. This segment brought to you by your local Mazda dealer. Visit MazdaUSA.com. Bare minimum expectations for this season. I know the bar is low. I'm going to raise it up a little level. We've been dying to get some talent. They finally have some. Let's see it.